All right, I did my book report over The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and I chose to do the Bloom Ball. So first I have The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, which is my cover page, and then I have interesting facts about the author. Would be the author started writing The Outsiders at the age of 16 while she was in school. This was based on true life gang that she knew. It also was passed. The book was passed on by her friend. His mom was a children's literature author, and she passed it on to her publisher, who then sold it to another publisher. The publisher that published this book for Hinton wanted to use the initials because she figured at this time and age that most people wouldn't believe that a female could write a book like this. And then she also never had the intentions on publishing this book. The next would be the symbolism. Here's mine, the Blue Mustang. It's just showing that it is tough. The Blue Mustang reoccurs often throughout the book, and there is a reason behind it. I am not going to spoil it. It is a must-read book. I can't believe I've never heard of it until now. So the quote from the book would be, "Golly, that was the toughest car I've ever been in." And then Two-Bit's Switchblade, which was very personal to Two-Bit. He ended up stealing this from a store, but the Switchblade for them and the gang is to be able to have it with you at all times. They may not necessarily need it. But the quote for the book was, "It was a jet-handled switchblade, 10 inches long, that would flash open at a mere breath." So it's showing the power and authority. And then Bob's rings. This is very important in the story, easily overlooked. But Bob's rings are about wealth and then Johnny's fear. And in here it says, "I remember that it was a blue Mustang that had pulled up beside the vacant lot and that Johnny's face had been cut up by someone wearing rings." Another one was the greasers. So I put down here like some grease that they put in their hair. It's a form of identity. The greasers are the boys on the west side. They are the lower class boys. Grease was something that they had, was like a symbolism because they always greased their hair, slicked it back. And the last one was sunsets, and that would be the symbolism for goodness. Tony Boy in this book meets Cherry, a girl which is on the Sosa side. And they are able to talk about things and agree that the violence between the Sosas and the greasers are not wanted. But it talks in here for the quote of the book. It said, "It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw was the same sunset I saw. Two different worlds weren't so different." All right, so the next part of my Bloom Ball would be the connections. Okay, the connections would be the text to self. And in this, it asks you to do a quote from the story or the book, to make a text to text, text to world, and text to self. So the text to self would have been, "It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never find it. This is a text to myself because it seems like I could have everything in the world and there still seems like there's something missing." Text to world would be that they are thinking about putting me and Soda in a boys' home or something. This quote reaches out to all children all over the world, as a lot of kids continue to have to worry about being put in homes. And the text to text, the quote is, "I'm not sure how to spell it, but it's the abbreviation for socials. The jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which classifies the boys on the East Side." So I use this as a text to text because in books like Monday's Not Coming, Divergent series, and then also like The Giver, their social statuses are set up and it divides a group of people. The next part of the Bloom Ball book report would be words, and here it's asking for 5 important words from the book with accompanying sentences explaining their meaning and significance. So the words I used were greaser. This is used to identify the East Side boys. Soses, which is the short for socials. This is the boys on the East Side, the rich kids. Tough, which is Tuff. It shows up in the book a lot. It means cool or sharp, like the Blue Mustang. It was also used to describe some of the boys in the book. Weed is another one, and that's just being used in a reference for like smoking cigarettes. Rumble is one that gets brought up throughout the end of the book, and it's the rumble between a fight between the Soses and the Greasers. The next part of the Bloom book would be the cause and effect. Here's my cause and effects. Okay, so the cause would be Sosa's attacking Ponyboy, which it results in the effect of Johnny getting killed. Or Johnny killing Bob. I apologize. And then the cause would be boys left the matches at the church. The effect for that is the kids lit the church on fire. And then the last cause it's asking for, because it's asking for 3, is Johnny's death. And the effect of that would be Ponyboy's trauma. The next one would be the book review, just my personal book review. And I had put on there that this book was set up to flow really well. It showed these standards affect each class, and that the Greasers always thought the Soses had it all together, but shows just like in society, our statuses doesn't mean we have it all together. You could also feel the pain in the character's description of Ponyboy. It was fascinating to realize the ending and the beginning of the book was Ponyboy's, and like I said, I'm not going to ruin it. I'll tell you what, this is a really good book, but really pay attention to the beginning of the book, and then like the first few sentences of the beginning of the book and the first few sentences of the ending. This was something I overlooked, and I didn't quite catch on to it until I was going back through my book report and realized what the author had done. And then quotes. It's asking for 4 memorable quotes from the book explaining their meaning and significance. So this one was right here. Here's my quotes. Okay, so a quote I had was, "We aren't in the same class, just don't forget that some of us watch sunsets." So once again, sunsets gets brought up, and it's that they're divided, but they both have the same sunset. The second quote is, "I hadn't realized Johnny was right behind me all the way." And this right here just shows about like the loyalty that the Greasers had to each other, and especially Johnny with Ponyboy. The third quote is, "Stay gold, Ponyboy." This one comes from the book that Ponyboy is reading to Johnny in the story, and it talks about staying gold, and it's just about like Johnny wanted Ponyboy to stay innocent. And the last quote was, "Things are rough all over." And this was just showing that each of the social statuses, so the Soses and the Greasers, each of them both have their own issues, and the other ones don't realize it. We look at the socials as rich kids who have it all together, but really deep down they do have it. They have parents who don't care what they do. They have money to get out of everything. It even talks in the book about one of the kids who would act out just to see if his parents would get after him, and they never did. And then, let's see here. The characters get, oh, nope, alternate ending. So for my alternate ending, it's just asking you to rewrite an ending, and how would it change the main events if it was altered. So I put, Johnny survived from the accident. So that would be the alternate ending, is writing some way of how Johnny survived from the accident. And this would be causing a trial to be held for the murder of Bob. Johnny not dying would keep Ponyboy from experiencing trauma, and it could also potentially change the outcome of Ponyboy's consequences in that trial. So in this trial, Ponyboy's trauma is so great at this point in time that the doctor's even worried. And so changing the end of the story to where Johnny lives, Johnny would be the one who is tried for murder, and Ponyboy is just the witness to it. Actually, he wasn't really much of the witness. But so his consequences could have actually been greater than what they were. or what he was given. And then there's a character sketch. The character sketch is you choose one of the main characters and you describe that character, not as a drawing, but you just describe them. And so my character sketch was Derry, and Derry is Ponyboy's oldest brother. So 20-year-old Derry shows strength, intelligence, and is hardworking. A young adult who dropped a continuing education to become the guardian to his two younger brothers. This was after his parents' death in an auto wreck. He's fighting the odds against the statistics of being a greaser, and he's caring and tough at the same time. So that just kind of explains a little bit about who Derry was. And then the last one on here is the Venn diagram, and this is comparing three characters. So here's mine. So my three characters are Ponyboy, Cherry, and Bob. So the Ponyboy is 14. He's cut by a knife, parents passed away, and rescued by the gang. And Cherry is a sos, never in a fight, wealthy, living parents. And Bob has abusive parents, cut by rings, passes away, and gang found him unconscious. So Ponyboy and Bob together have in common that they went to Drixville, greasers, best friends, and jump bike gang. Ponyboy and Cherry have sunsets and didn't like fighting in common, and then Bob and Cherry had 16 sticking up for her at the movies. So Cherry and Bob were both 16 years old. And then all three of them together that had something in common was Bob and then the movie theaters. And that is the end of my book report.